Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We have here our brother Aaron, and inshallah ta'ala he will tell us how he converted to Islam. And we have also here brother Yasin and brother Omar. And we'd like to hear about your story, brother Aaron. So please, kindly, can you tell us about it?
Sure. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So it was in 2006, right after I graduated high school. I'd been dating this girl for 4 years. Her name was Amber. And the two of us, we had a very rocky relationship. There was a lot of issues.
What do you mean by rocky? Back and forth?
Trouble. Yeah.
No, I mean, يعني, it's not stable relationship.
It wasn't stable.
Yes,
It wasn't
stable. I mean back and forth. Of course, rocky is back and forth, but I don't mean that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah, we had a rocky, unstable relationship. And what happened was she started working full-time at The Source, which is an electronics store, and her boss there was Muslim. And so at the time I was living with her, she was living with her uncle, and
You are married or?
I wasn't married, no. I was just dating her. Yeah. And so what happened was she was working full-time at The Source, and her boss was Muslim, and so every night, she'd come back and give me like little bits of information about what Islam was. And,
SubhanAllah.
That's kind of how initially I started learning about it. At first I wasn't really, I don't know, it didn't quite catch on with me. Like I was reluctant to accept it. I was reluctant to learn anything more about it, but she seemed very sincere about it. She seemed very interested. And so what happened was, eventually it got to a point where she said that, I want to become a Muslim, and, I want you to become Muslim with me so we can stay together, right? And, I mean, what I kind of noticed with her was that as she was learning more about Islam, she was becoming a better person. She was becoming a lot softer, and she was very harsh beforehand. And so eventually she gave me a little book. She gave me the brief illustrated guide to understanding Islam. And she said, just read this, and that'll pretty much be the end of it. And I did, and surely enough, it was the end of it, because after I read it, I was convinced that I wanted to be a Muslim too. Because
MashaAllah.
just reading that book.
I'm sorry, what is the name of the book again?
It was a brief illustrated guide to understanding Islam.
Yeah, wonderful book.
Very good.
Yes.
And what I realized while I was reading it was that, a lot of the stuff Muslims believe in, I already believed in it. Like, I already believed in God, I believed in Jesus, I believed in all that, but I never really had a foundation for my faith. I never really had anything to base my beliefs on. And so, as I read this, I realized that this is, it's the truth. It's what I believe in. And so, we decided that we would both become Muslim, and we were invited over to her boss's place for dinner. Her boss's name is Hisham. So we were invited over to Hisham's place for dinner, and I always remember dinner over there because I didn't really know what to expect, because I'd never been in a Muslim household before. So I was expecting dinner would be like goats, curry, something exotic like that, and instead it was lasagna and Caesar salad.
Her boss was his nationality?
They're Lebanese.
Lebanese.
Yeah.
No, nice food, Lebanese.
Yeah. So yeah, it was curry, lasagna and Caesar salad. Yeah, that's what we ended up having. And it was good, so that's all that mattered. So afterward, we were sitting around in the living room, and we were just kind of talking like people do after dinner. And then Amber decided that she was going to say her Shahada, and so she said it. And then I remember this moment clearly, because afterward, Hisham's father said, inshallah, maybe one day Aaron will be ready to say it too. And then, the room just goes silent, and everyone's looking at me, and I'm holding my breath, and I'm like, it's really one of those now or never moments. And so I took a leap of faith, and I said my Shahada.
MashaAllah. Same day.
same day.
Same moment.
5 minutes after her.
Subhanallah. La ilaha
Yeah.
illallah.
And so after that, I always say that when it comes to converts, it's always the first year that's the toughest, and it is, because afterwards, second person people we told were my parents. The first person was actually one of my friends who Amber texted and said, "Hey, we're Muslim," and then she's like, "Oh, that's cool, congratulations." But for my parents, we sat them down. And it was actually on Easter dinner nonetheless. So my dad had just finished making this big glazed ham and everything, and
I know it.
So we sat down and we said, Mom, Dad, we got something to tell you. We became Muslim and we want to get married. And they were shocked, as they didn't have any idea that I was thinking of doing that. But they were more shocked about getting married. They were actually fine with us being Muslim.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
And
cool.
they were fine with that, but they didn't like the fact that we were getting married because they saw that I was in a bad relationship with her. And so they were concerned about that. And so, on her side of the family, with her mom and dad and her family, it was the exact opposite. They were fine with us getting married, but they hated the fact that we were Muslim. And so that was really tough to get adjusted to for the first couple of months. We stayed at my parents' place because that was probably the place that was the most supportive of us. So
Both of you?
Yeah, and both of us stayed with Mom and Dad. And I do credit, and I cannot thank my parents enough for how much they put up with for that first little while with us. My dad, he'd drive into Edmonton just to pick up halal meat for us to eat. And to this day, he still picks up halal meat. He still drives into Edmonton to pick up meat because he likes it better.
Halal meat.
Halal meat, yeah.
You don't live in Edmonton?
I do, yeah. This is back when I lived in Leduc.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I guess I should have established that first. So yeah, this was back when I lived in Leduc, which is a half hour south of Edmonton. And so we pulled together a wedding in 3 months, and we got married in the mosque in Wetaskiwin, which is about half hour south of Leduc. And alhamdulillah, everything was fine. We were married, we had our own place, we got a car, we were both working full time. I was working with Hisham and Amber at the source now. And things were pretty good for a while. For the first 4 or 5 months, things were really good. But then we realized that, a lot of the issues we had as a couple, they weren't solved by getting married and becoming Muslim. We thought that that's what would happen. We thought we would get married, everything would be fixed, but that's not what happened. It just kind of put a new coat of paint on it, and then the paint just ended up chipping away and all the old problems came back up. So, and we moved out of the apartment, we moved into a house, and while we were living in that house, that's where things really started to go downhill with us. That's where things got very tough.
I'm sorry to interrupt you and to ask you about the problems. It's a problems just because both of you has different expectation from another, or she expect because you are a Muslim now you should take care of everything at home, to pay bills and to pay the rent and everything, and she just keep her money alone, because this is something happen also for other brothers.
Right.
But what is the problem exactly?
With us, no. It was the issues with us were the fact that we were first of all, were the fact that we were completely different personalities. At the time, I was very shy. I was very passive, very reserved, and she was very outgoing, sometimes very aggressive, and I was expected to be the man of the family now, and I didn't know how to do that because I was only 18. And this all came on me all of a sudden, and I didn't know how to really handle all of it properly. And
good.
oh, thank you. But I think that would look much better in your
with the hat. Very good.
Sorry to interrupt. No problem. So yeah, the other issues that were with us was that she was having troubles with her faith, with Islam, and I wasn't, in a way. Like,
Which kind of trouble? Because of the hijab? Because of
the hijab, and she, I'm trying to remember now. I know that the hijab was a problem, and there were other issues that she didn't talk to me about that she talked with Hisham about, with her boss, and she, I guess, didn't get sufficient answers from him. And I'd say that he was very, I couldn't have asked for a better mentor at the time. Because to me, he basically gave me the foundation of what it's like to be a good, balanced Muslim living in Canada. But with her, it was completely different, and I don't know why. She just had a lot of issues with the faith, and I didn't really know how to address them. So it got to the point where, she stopped wearing hijab, she stopped praying, and everything like that. And we moved out of that house again. We moved into another apartment, thinking that, moving again would fix everything again, and of course it didn't. It just got worse. And her ex-boyfriend ended up kind of coming back into our lives, and she realized that, she decided actually she wanted to be with him instead of me. And
even you are still married?
Yeah, we were still married. And I don't want to paint it as if there was this big argument between us, because it ended up being a very mutual thing when we decided to divorce, when we decided to separate, because I realized that she wasn't happy with me, and she wasn't going to be, and she realized this also. And I remember the day that she came in. By that time, we had separate bedrooms, and life together was it was a strain to live together. And so she came into my room and sat down, and we were just quiet because we both knew what had to be said, and we both decided that we would get divorced. And so it was September. We'd been married for about a year.
But both of you at that time already ready to have divorce?
Yeah, we were ready. We decided
emotionally and stuff like this.
Yeah, it was a long path to get to that point, but it was, when we ended up getting divorced, it was I guess amicable or agreeable, because we knew that that's what we wanted to do. And so we'd been married for a year and 2 months, so we got divorced in September. Separated, actually, because in Canada you have to be separated for a year to be legally divorced. It's a pain in the butt. But we separated. I moved back to my parents' house, and she stayed in the apartment. Her boyfriend moved in, and then after that I worked for a year. I was trying to figure out what to do with my life. I was living with mom and dad, and they just, they'd always wanted me to go back to university. And then I decided that that's something I want to do too. And so I applied. I got into McEwen University, and then I moved into Edmonton, started going to school. So, looking back, oddly enough, as strange as it sounds, I always say divorce was probably the best thing that happened to me, because had I not gotten divorced, I would have been stuck in a bad relationship, and I'd be always straining to, make ends meet, to pay bills and everything, and I wouldn't have grown as a person or as a Muslim had I stayed with her. So, moving into Edmonton, going to school, being part of the Muslim community was
meeting some nice brothers like Yassine and Omar.
Definitely, yeah.
And cool sheikh like me. And
of course, yeah.
I'm just joking. I'm sorry.
Inshallah, you are a very cool sheikh.
No, Allah, I just would like to make some light, because it's come to sad. يعني. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I don't regret anything. It's exactly, it happened the way it was meant to happen. So I just got to move on, and inshallah I'll get married again, and I'm like
inshallah.
her.
طب what about she? Is she married she no.
No,
She cannot marry nobody now.
she didn't get married. She has a baby, and I don't know who she's with right now. She lives in Edmonton, but that's
She had baby.
about it. Yeah.
But what was the Islam? She's not practicing no more, or
I don't know with her because I kind of got the impression that she wanted to leave Islam entirely, but you know, a couple times when I talked to her, there were still like little bits and pieces of faith still there. So, you know, inshallah, maybe she does come back one day. But I mean, that's her choice to make now.
do you think because you don't have enough Muslim friends, female and male, to help you both to grow up in Islam and stuff like this,
Yeah,
this is makes the situation worth?
that's definitely it because we only really had Hisham and his family, and you know, mashallah, they did great. They did great
May Allah
supporting
reward
us.
him, mashallah.
But I mean, yeah, but we needed being part of a community, being around Muslim brothers and sisters, especially for converts, is essential because you need that support system, especially for
Yes.
people your own age, and you need people to be around because I mean, when it gets really tough, and I mean, there are some things you can talk about with, you know, parents, but there are some things that your parents won't understand if they're not Muslim, and so you need that support system to help you through those
Yes, you're right.
difficult times.
You're right. You're right.
And you know, alhamdulillah, my parents, inshallah, they become Muslim one day, but they've been very supportive of me and my choice, and you know, respectful. So I think it's okay.
Mashallah.
Alhamdulillah. So that's my story.
Wallahi, yani it's I don't need to say it's a good story, but it's emotional story,
Yeah.
especially the part you get married and this happen in the life. But don't worry, this is a woman.
Yeah, exactly.
It's usually been in our you know the rest.
Yeah.
But
Inshallah.
but the good thing is really I like the whole story. Subhanallah, she is the one guided to the Islam.
Yeah.
And subhanallah, she's the one almost fall over again, and you are the one who mashallah stuck in your deen,
Stuck it out.
and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you for that. Allahumma ameen.
Inshallah.
And believe me akhi, subhanallah, like what I used telling the brothers last time, Allah choose his own people. And you know, Abu Jahl before Islam, he used to call Abul Hakam. He was the wise person in Mecca. And when Islam came, Islam called him Abu Jahl because he knew the truth, but he was arrogant. And he felt like Islam will take some of his honors or some of his what do you call it?
Right.
Pride. And subhanallah al-azim, yani Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala choose different people more than different than Abu Jahl, because Allah knows the people will stick to their deen and will carry their deen and will practice it and will sacrifice in Allah's sake subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah, yani, I'm very glad to meet you first and to listen to your beautiful story, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inshallah ta'ala give you a good sister Muslim practicing her deen, and may Allah yani give you long life and happy life. Allahumma ameen wa ameen. Jazakallah khairan for this wonderful talk
Thank you.
and wonderful story. And we would like also to thank our audience, Brother Yasin and Brother Omar, and thank you so much, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.